Ignore how Medicare eats your raise, and your 2.8% Social Security COLA could shrink by more than $200 a year. Here's what happened to two retirees who read the fine print differently. Meet Carol and Walter. Both turned 67 in 2026. Both collected the average Social Security check of $2,015 a month, and both got the same news last fall. A 2.8% raise was coming. Carol read every letter that arrived. Walter figured a raise was a raise and moved on. That one choice sent their finances down very different paths over the next 10 years. Today, we'll follow the dollars, the real ones, after Medicare and taxes take their cut, so you can see which path you're on and fix it before your next check arrives. The Social Security Administration confirmed the 2.8% cost of living adjustment for 2026, based on inflation data measured from the third quarter of 2024 through the third quarter of 2025. Normally, that announcement lands on October 15th. In 2025, a federal government shutdown pushed it back 9 days to October 24th. Even with the delay, the raise still started on time. Nearly 71 million Social Security beneficiaries saw the increase begin with their January 2026 payment. And in total, 75 million Americans on Social Security or SSI got the bump. SSI recipients actually saw their higher payment a few weeks early, on December 31st, 2025. For Carol and Walter, the notice looked identical. What they did with that notice is where the story splits. Here's what 2.8% actually meant in dollars. The average retired worker's benefit rose by about $56 a month, from roughly $2,015 to $2,071, starting in January 2026. That's the number most headlines used. Carol's check went up by almost exactly that. Walter's did too. Dollar for dollar, they got the same raise because a percentage COLA applies to your own benefit, not a flat amount for everyone. If your check was higher than average, your raise was higher. If it was lower, your raise was smaller. Either way, this raise is not a bonus. It's designed to help your check keep pace with rising prices. That distinction mattered a lot for what came next because prices weren't the only thing rising in 2026. The other big number for 2026 is Medicare Part B. The standard monthly premium rose to $202.90, up $17.90 or from $185 in 2025, an increase of almost 9.7%. The annual Part B deductible climbed too, from $257 to $283. Most retirees have this premium deducted directly from their Social Security check before they ever see the money. Walter never checked his new premium. He assumed his check would simply be $56 higher, the number he'd heard on the news. Carol did the math herself. Her Part B premium jump alone took back a big piece of her raise before groceries, gas, or anything else. She wanted to know her real after Medicare increase, not the headline one. There's one protection built into the law that softened this blow for many people. It's called hold-harmless. It says your Part B premium increase can never be larger than your dollar increase in Social Security benefits. So if your COLA dollar amount was smaller than the $17.90 premium jump, your premium increase was capped. You simply couldn't come out behind. Carol found this rule while reading her notice, and it eased her worry. Walter never looked, so he didn't know this safety net existed or that it applied to him. About 8% of beneficiaries, generally higher earners, pay income-adjusted premiums instead, ranging from $284 on 10 up to $689 on 90 a month in 2026. Knowing which rule applies to you is the difference between guessing and planning. 2 weeks after the October announcement, Walter got a phone call. The caller said Social Security needed him to confirm his information to process his new 2026 payment amount and asked for a small processing fee paid by gift card. Walter almost paid it. COLA season is prime time for scammers because everyone is expecting a letter about a new dollar amount. Social Security will never call asking for gift cards, wire transfers, or your personal information to release a benefit increase. Your new amount is applied automatically. You don't need to confirm anything, pay anything, or click anything. Carol had heard this warning years earlier from a benefits counselor, so she hung up immediately and reported the call. Walter learned the lesson the harder way after nearly falling for it. Carol did one more thing. Walter skipped. She logged into her personal My Social Security account. Beneficiaries who wanted their 2026 COLA notice online instead of by mail needed to create or sign into that account and opt out of paper notices by November 19th, 2025. Carol did this years ago, so she saw her exact new benefit amount, her new Part B premium, and her net check, all in one place before January arrived. Walter waited for a paper letter that took weeks to reach his mailbox, and by the time it did, he'd already misjudged his January budget based on guesswork. A 5-minute account setup gave Carol clarity months ahead of her neighbor. It's one of the simplest, most overlooked tools in retirement planning. Walter also worked part-time, and this is where COLA season tripped him up again. For 2026, if you haven't reached full retirement age, Social Security withholds $1 for every $2 you earn above $24,280 a year. If you reach full retirement age sometime in 2026, that limit rises to $65,160 with $1 withheld for every $3 over it. Walter, still short of his full retirement age of 67, kept working the same hours he always had and didn't realize his raise pushed him closer to that $24,180 line. Part of his extra income was quietly withheld from future checks. Carol, who'd read up on full retirement age rules, 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later, timed her hours to stay under the limit. Now let's follow the dollars over 10 years. COLA has averaged about 3.1% over the last decade, and 2026 marks the fifth straight year of at least 2.5%, the longest such streak since the 1990s. If that pattern continues, both Carol's and Walter's checks will keep growing. But Carol's net income grew faster because she budgeted around her real after Medicare number every year, avoided a scam, and avoided lost benefits from the earnings test. Small annual gaps compound. A retiree who tracks her account, knows her deductions, and adjusts her part-time hours can end up with meaningfully more usable income after a decade than one who just waits for the mail and assumes every raise is pure extra cash. One more myth worth clearing up. The maximum possible Social Security benefit in 2026 is $4,152 a month at full retirement age and $5,081 if you wait until 70. That's not what a typical retiree gets. Most people like Carol and Walter are closer to the $2,071 average. And one more thing to plan around, Social Security's trustees project the trust funds will run short by 2034, which could mean benefits drop to about 83% of scheduled amounts unless Congress acts. That's still years away and not a reason to panic, but it is a reason to build your own cushion now, the way Carol did, instead of assuming next year's raise will always cover next year's costs. Carol and Walter got the exact same 2.8% raise. One ended up with a clearer budget, a protected identity, and more usable income in her pocket. The other spent 2026 catching up on mail, almost lost money to a scammer, and lost part of a check he didn't need to lose. The difference wasn't luck. It was 5 minutes with a My Social Security account and a habit of reading the notice instead of guessing. Talk to a licensed advisor about how the COLA and Medicare premiums affect your specific numbers. Download the free retirement deadline checklist, link in description, so you never miss a notice, a deadline, or a warning sign again. If this helped, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.